The FDIC is approving crypto activities for banks. We also have Paul Atkins talking about a new era for crypto. We're going to get into all of this and more. Of course, there's Ripple and XRP connections all over this. Let's go ahead and get into this, guys. If you get any value, please hit like. If you're not subscribed and you keep coming back, think about subscribing. Let's go.
2017, I've led industry efforts to develop best practices for the digital asset industry. I've seen how ambiguous and non-existent regulation of digital assets create uncertainty in the market and inhibit innovation. A top priority of my chairmanship will be to work with my fellow commissioners in Congress to provide a firm regulatory foundation for digital assets through a rational, coherent, and principled approach. So this is a pivotal moment for our economy. Entrepreneurs, businesses, and individuals here at home and across the globe are eager to invest in America now that President Trump is at the helm. Yet the current regulatory environment for our financial system inhibits investment and often punishes success. Unclear, overly politicized, complicated, and burdensome regulations are stifling capital formation, while American investors are flooded with disclosures that do the opposite of helping them understand the true risks of an investment. It is time to reset priorities and return common sense to the SEC. I'm eager to get to work for American markets and investors. Should I be confirmed, my goal will be to ensure that the United States is the best and most secure place in the world to do business.
Love to hear that, man. I love to hear that, right? The US is going to be the biggest place for business for the crypto industry is basically what he said, right? There's some people online speculating that Paul Atkins is going to investigate the Hinman speech and the fake Ethereum stuff. Bill Hinman got paid $15 million by the Ethereum Foundation to basically come out and say Ethereum is not a security. Ethereum actually helped him write the speech. Crazy, right? How was that not thoroughly investigated? If it does get investigated, I will be over the moon happy. Let me know down in the comments if you guys want justice still or you guys are over it. I'd love to better understand what you guys are feeling right now. Here it is from Brett Crypto. Just in, the FDIC states that banks are allowed to participate in crypto activities without needing prior approval. Remember, the OCC just gave the green light as well. You have way too many regulators in the United States, but as each one starts to come on board with crypto activity, banks are going to feel better about using it. Remember, banks were, sued. They were closed down if they touch crypto. That is why banks are so scared to use it. But if you listen to the CEO of Bank of America, BNY Mellon, Citibank, they are all ready. The time is now. Federal Reserve document highlights Ripple Interledger Protocol, ILP, XRP, digital dollar, right? Remember, the Trump administration has told us that they do not want to create a CBDC, but a US dollar stablecoin will be what saves the American bond market, okay? That we could see trillions with a T of dollars of value going into these stablecoins over the next 5 to 10 years. Trillions. So, my thing is, how long is it going to take to move all the money, right? Because it doesn't make sense to have like 10, 15% here, and 85% in the old system. When you make the move in the transition, you make the move in the transition. You don't keep it half and half, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens when that point comes. If you have like Bank of America, and because it is so expensive to create your own blockchain for your own stablecoin, right? You probably would launch it on a chain that's already has years of transactions and years of experience. It's a trusted ledger, right? So they're going to look at Ethereum, they're going to look at XRP, right? They're going to look at a few others, and it's going to explode the market. And so this says the Interledger Protocol, which allows transactions to flow across different ledgers and create correction points between two or more digital transactions to flow across different ledgers, and creates a connection points between two or more digital ledgers. All right. It also says down here, interoperability and streamline the process for transferring digital assets by enabling entities in different countries with different payment systems to more easily transact with one another. Adoption of this, a similar protocol could spur further innovation and adoption of DLT-based systems for cross-border payments use. You also have, remember, FedNow, there's some gigantic companies that are connected to Ripple and that are connected inside of FedNow. I did a video on this maybe about a month ago, and the connections here are just truly, truly incredible. Let me show you this really quickly. Of course, you have Ripple, the Faster Payments Council. You have Ripple Faster Payments Task Force. These are all United States task force and partnerships. ACI worldwide, big deal, right? ACI supports 9% of global SWIFT traffic and 30% in the US. This is, in fact, a Ripple partner. They can use XRP if they so choose to. You have Alacrity, not too, it's okay. Partners include the Clearinghouse, comprised of a lot of Ripple partners, AWS Ripple partnership, US Faster Payments Council collaboration. And look, yeah, BNY Mellon on here, CNM Software, CGI. This is a very, very big one. They do a lot of value transfer. DCI, Finastra's here, FIS is here, Finsley. I mean, it's incredible. The list goes on and on. And you also have the Federal Reserve will use Ripple's ODL for 24/7, 365 for instant cross-border payment. And then the captain is saying this is proof. We got to take a look at the proof, guys. All right. No government stamp, right? Just a random Word document with some information on it. Super helpful. Questions and responses for potential 24/7, 365 real-time gross settlement system. Will there be sufficient demand for faster payments to support the development of the service? Yes, we see sufficient and growing demand for faster payment solutions, both in domestic and cross-border setting. Question, what is the ideal time to market this service? And it says for domestic payments, a simple credit push service that offered ubiquity, i.e. acceptance of the credit by all financial institutions and non-bank financial institutions, could be brought to market in 12 to 18 months at the minimum. Mandatory service, additional services, request to pay could follow. Individually, banks could, of course, build innovative new services on the new payment rails. Listen, it says cross-border payment solutions like RippleNet are going live. Banks, are interested in doing all of this, but you have to understand when you create your own crypto, you need a development team constantly. You have to audit, you have to test, you have to, it's not something you can put up in a day, in a week, in a month. This is going to take quite some time, and banks don't want to go through all that, right? They do what they do best, which is running a bank. All of these new technologies by private companies, they can go in and say, hey, I want that as part of the bank. I want that as part of the bank. And so if the bank should, start accepting crypto payments and things like that, they're hooked up to all these systems, right? That's why you see Ripple connected to like American Express, Visa, MasterCard, Union Pay, all of these big companies, because if in fact crypto starts flowing across those networks, they're ready to handle it. All right. And then Chad Steingraber says Fdic connects business networks using Swift, SEPA, and Ripple. Here is Swift, SEPA, and Ripple. Remember, SEPA is the single euro payments area across 36 European countries. Ripple, of course, is connected into SEPA. Also, Ripple is connected into Swift through different partnerships. And this is saying it's been used by fintech firms, including Trangelo, Ripple, an Asian payments hub, and Fdic, a European-based international money transfer provider. Central bank digital currencies, Ripple Labs also provides a modular CBDC platform enabling central banks to issue and operate digital currencies. Boom. Boom. Chugga, chugga, boom, boom, chugga.
What are other ways?
If you made it this far, guys, and you haven't hit like, please do so. We are growing. We're going to get to 100K next month. Oh my God. We could do it with your help. If you're not subscribed, man, please help me. But honestly, if you want to come back and learn more, subscribe. If you're just here for one video, you don't need to subscribe. All right. I want people that are ready to learn, ready to grow, and ready to have some fun with me.
What are other ways that the private sector can work with the public sector to help create that clarity?
The crypto.
Really quickly, this is former chair of the FDIC, Sheila Bair. Sheila Bair is also a part of RLUSD. Let me play it.
Industry needs to understand what the regulators' objectives are, what the concerns are. The current structure doesn't work because it's not so heavily intermediated. You don't have the same gatekeepers that you have with the banks or the brokerages or the centralized clearing and settlement systems. It's a promise of new ways of doing business, and the issues are the same, but the structure needs to be different. The challenge is to adapt and learn from our current regulatory structure about how to address those risks and let the positive innovations flourish.
Let the positive innovations flourish. You also have this look at who is on the RLUSD advisory board. Here we go, right? Sheila Bair, the lady you just saw, the vice chairman of Partners Capital and former Century Consortium CEO David Puth, and Ripple executive chairman Chris Larson are on the advisory board. You also have Sandy O'Connor. She sits on the board of directors for Ripple. She also serves as the task force for financial stability and the FDIC systematic advisory committee. More connections to Ripple, to the FDIC. She also is a director of the Bank of New York Mellon. Damn! But that's not all. Add Federal Reserve and JP Morgan to that list. She is an incredible, incredible person. Here is a meeting, FDIC meeting, talking about digital assets. It's talking about a bail-in and a bail-in bonds. Let me just play the thing, listen to it, and we'll react to it.
Sell side, I think there's just a very clear drive by global industry, and I'm no longer in it anymore, to actually build up front resources because you want them to be predictable, manageable, and understood. Yet it seems really hard to get there. And I'm just curious as to your viewpoint, because it seems like, our regulators are aligned, our academics are aligned, the industry wants something, yet we are not there yet. And I think upfront is the way to go, and inclusive of bail-inable debt, except I would just offer, rather than shock absorbency, that's really a recapitalization mechanism, right? Because then it moves from a demutualized to a mutualized model, which is probably a more appropriate model, but that's just not where we are at the moment. So
I'm not sure it's quite as one-sided as one thinks. And of course, the cost of bail-in bonds, as I say. So I think the default fund of the London Clearing House is around 10 billion. I don't know what the coupon will be on a bail-in bond, but that cost, particularly where there's a clearing mandate and you're legally obliged to CCP, I don't think any of us want to get into the economic regulation of CCP, so maybe one will have to go there one day. Those costs are going to come back to members as well. So I don't see this as such a one-sided set of issues to be.
Listen, really quickly, they have all of this, bonds and debt. Imagine waking up one day and, the Trump administration keeps talking about moving to a new system. That new system, isn't it blockchain, right? Because you already have FedNow, right? That is America's instant payment system. What else? I'm trying to better understand, what is above that, right? Because that was supposed to be, because you have FedWire, which is the old system. That's supposed to, come into FedNow. And now you have Trump talking about, making the Treasury, upgrading the Treasury Department. I'm wondering, is that blockchain? Because we really don't have information about what that step is, and we're waiting for it. All right, you have this too. Justin, Binance issues a final warning on Tether, urging users to convert to USDC, a MiCA compliant stablecoin. Listen, if you are in the European Union and you have USDT, you probably should go and convert it to a different stablecoin. I don't know if you're going to lose this. They're going to stop withdrawals on this, right? They have to. So if you don't convert it in a timely manner, you might lose it. So please protect yourself. I care about you. All right, last clip of the day here. 7 years ago, Peter Schiff and Max Kaiser. What if somebody came up with digital currency better than Bitcoin? What would happen to the world?
Let's say you really believe in digital currencies. So what if somebody comes up with a digital currency a year from now, 2 years from now, that is so much better than Bitcoin? It does everything Bitcoin does better, faster, cheaper. And everybody wants that new one. And now nobody wants Bitcoin. So it's worthless, right? Nobody wants it anymore because somebody came up with a better mousetrap. So just because they were first, but of course, I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think any of them are going to work. I think if we're ever going to have digital currencies, they have to be backed by gold. They're not going to be backed by nothing.
That didn't age well. That didn't age well at all.
They're not just going to be digital fiat where you have unlimited supplies.
Nothing for another currency coming along and competing with Bitcoin.
What is Tether, right? It's unlimited printer. They probably don't have the money to back it up. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. It's Friday. I'm going to be doing a live stream today. This video will probably come out on Saturday though. So I'm wishing you a fantastic weekend. I hope you are doing well. Please spend time with your family and loved ones and have a good one. All right. Aloha.